Imagine waking up tomorrow and the cash in your wallet is just paper. Your savings, worthless, banks, closed, governments, crumbling under debt. Sounds impossible? History proves otherwise. From Weimar Germany to ancient Rome to modern Zimbabwe, money has died many times. And in every collapse, some people survived. Not because they were rich, but because they held three things money could never take away. Across centuries, money has failed repeatedly. In Weimar Germany, coins lost value by the hour. In Rome, emperors debased currency. In Zimbabwe, banknotes reached trillions, yet people kept living. The pattern is clear. Currency fails, but real value endures. Some survive because they understood the difference between paper and tangible assets, between empty promises and skills that cannot be destroyed. Today, these lessons are just as relevant. Germany, 1923. The war had ended, but the economy lay in ruins. The streets of Berlin were filled with people carrying wheelbarrows of cash, desperately trying to buy even the simplest loaf of bread. Banknotes, once symbols of security, became worthless almost overnight. Families burned money in their stoves just to keep warm, while outside winter winds swept through shattered buildings. Shops changed prices by the hour. A loaf of bread might cost 1,000 marks in the morning, 10,000 by noon, and 100,000 by evening. Yet amidst the chaos, some families survived. Those who owned farmland, small bakeries, or essential trades found ways to endure. Barter became the lifeblood of survival. Flour was exchanged for coal, eggs for milk, tools for services. Every skill, every object with tangible value became a form of currency. Bakers, carpenters, blacksmiths, and farmers held power that no government-issued paper could match. Their wealth was real. It could feed, clothe, and sustain them. In neighborhoods across the city, communities came together. People shared resources, traded labor, and looked after one another. Parents taught children to value skill, resourcefulness, and resilience over money. Shops, workshops, and farms became classrooms in survival, demonstrating that human ingenuity could endure even the harshest economic storms. This period, filled with desperation and innovation, proved a timeless lesson. Real assets, skills, and trust are the true foundation of survival when money fails. As the days turned into weeks, people became inventively resourceful, finding small ways to stretch their meager supplies. Markets became centers of informal learning, neighbors teaching each other how to mend clothes, repair tools, and store food efficiently. Stories spread of families who survived by pooling skills, a carpenter repairing shoes in exchange for bread, a baker trading loaves for coal, a blacksmith fixing wagons for vegetables. Even children participated, learning early the value of work, trust, and tangible assets over paper money. Every alley, every street became a lesson in human ingenuity and resilience, showing that communities could survive, adapt, and even quietly thrive despite the collapse of currency. Rome, the empire that stretched across continents, was legendary for its wealth, but wealth came at a price. Wars were expensive, the treasury strained, and emperors spent lavishly on palaces, gladiators, and festivals. To keep the empire afloat, coins were debased, silver mixed with cheaper metals, slowly eroding the value of money in everyone's hands. Merchants raised prices, soldiers received less pay, and ordinary citizens saw their savings dwindle to almost nothing. Markets were crowded with anxious buyers. Streets buzzed with chatter about rising prices and shortages of essentials. Parents worried about feeding their children, while bakers, blacksmiths, and craftsmen calculated constantly what goods they could afford to sell or trade. Yet some Romans survived, not through wealth on paper, but through tangible skills and networks. Marcus, a Roman carpenter, repaired furniture, built tools, and bartered with farmers for grain. Lucia, a seamstress, exchanged clothes and mending services for food and oil. Even the street vendors, who sold vegetables, bread, and wine, adapted quickly, trading extra portions for tools, favors, or protection from thieves. Those with land could grow crops, while tradesmen with reputations for reliability were welcomed everywhere, their value beyond the reach of coin. Families organized informal networks, sharing resources and helping each other in times of scarcity. Workshops and forums became more than centers of commerce. They were classrooms in survival, where young apprentices learned skills that could feed them when money failed. In neighborhoods across Rome, trust and reputation became currency. People relied on personal relationships to secure necessities, while money grew meaningless. Rome's bustling forums and workshops became hubs of human ingenuity, proof that skills, tangible assets, and trust outlasted failing currency. Even as Rome faced political chaos and economic decay, those who understood this survived and quietly thrived, while others watched their savings vanish in the coins they clutched. The lesson is timeless. Human skill, real assets, and trusted networks endure, long after coins crumble to dust. Fast forward to Zimbabwe, 2008. Hyperinflation reached an unimaginable 79.6 billion%. People carried enormous stacks of cash just to buy basic food, while prices skyrocketed multiple times a day. Supermarket shelves emptied within hours. Lines stretched for blocks, and banks closed under the weight of economic collapse. Many families went without meals for days, relying on neighbors and extended family to survive. Yet amid the chaos, ingenuity and human resilience flourished. Farmers grew crops not just to sell, but to survive. Mechanics repaired machines in exchange for food, while teachers, nurses, and doctors offered their services in barter. Neighborhoods formed tight-knit communities. People shared what they had, exchanged skills, and created informal networks to ensure everyone survived the worst days. Families traded food, tools, and labor instead of currency. A carpenter might fix a roof in exchange for grain. A farmer might provide vegetables in exchange for medical care. Children learned lessons early: how to barter, how to adapt, and how to value skill and trust over meaningless paper. Even in city centers, small markets sprang up where goods and services were exchanged, often quietly without official oversight. Trillion-dollar bills were printed, but they were worthless. Yet human value persisted in action, ingenuity, and relationships. Gasoline and other essentials became scarce. Long queues formed at fuel stations, sometimes lasting days. Hospitals struggled as medical supplies vanished. Yet nurses and doctors improvised treatments and exchanged care for goods. Schools were disrupted, but communities set up informal lessons where children learned practical skills like gardening, sewing, and trading. People began using foreign currencies like the US dollar and South African rand when possible, but access was limited, making bartering still essential. Black markets thrived quietly, offering bread, fuel, or medicine to those with trusted connections or skills. Stories circulated of families surviving solely through community cooperation, sharing resources, and cultivating small gardens in abandoned lots. Artists, musicians, and tradesmen performed or worked for food and supplies, showing that creativity could be a form of currency too. Even in the worst neighborhoods, people innovated, brewing local goods, repairing bicycles, and teaching practical skills to one another to survive. This modern collapse mirrors history. Money may fail, governments may falter, and economies may crumble, but tangible assets, skills, and trust endure. Survival was not about wealth on paper. It was about adapting, collaborating, and using human creativity as the ultimate currency. Lesson 1. Real assets. Tangible things. Land, gold, tools, food are the foundation of real wealth. In Weimar Germany, families with farmland or bakeries survived while money burned in stoves. In ancient Rome, craftsmen with tools could produce goods and trade them, even when coins lost all value. In Zimbabwe, farmers with crops fed themselves and bartered with neighbors. Even today, owning something that has intrinsic value, something that can sustain life or be traded, is far more secure than relying on paper or digital money. Real assets don't just protect you, they allow you to act, produce, and survive in any situation. Lesson 2. Real skills. Skills are a currency that never loses value. A blacksmith in Rome repaired wagons and weapons. A carpenter bartered furniture for grain. In Germany, bakers, mechanics, and artisans survived by trading services for essentials. In Zimbabwe, teachers, nurses, and doctors exchange knowledge and labor for food or other necessities. Modern skills, coding, finance, engineering, healthcare, work the same way. They are portable, adaptable, and indispensable. Investing in skills is investing in survival, adaptability, and long-term freedom. Lesson 3. Real trust. Relationships are priceless. Trust is currency when systems fail. In Rome, tradesmen with reputations for fairness always found buyers. In Germany, neighbors exchanged favors, goods, and labor, relying on mutual trust. In Zimbabwe, communities organized, sharing resources and protecting one another. Trust converts skills and assets into survival. Without it, even the best skills or resources can go unused. The lesson is clear. Cultivate your skills, own what is real, and build relationships. These three things endure when money and systems fail. Today, most money isn't printed. It exists digitally. Numbers on a screen, backed by faith, not by tangible value. Bank accounts, cryptocurrencies, and credit are convenient until confidence vanishes. Inflation, bank freezes, market crashes. These are modern echoes of history. The lessons from Weimar Germany, ancient Rome, and Zimbabwe remain just as relevant. Those who hold real assets, cultivate valuable skills, and build networks of trust remain adaptable, resilient, and prepared for the unexpected. Paper money may fail, digital numbers may vanish, but human ingenuity, relationships, and tangible value persist. Imagine a crisis tomorrow. Systems freeze, digital accounts are inaccessible, supply chains break. Who thrives? Not those with the most numbers on a screen, but those who can produce, trade, and cooperate. Invest in yourself. Grow skills that cannot be erased. Build relationships that cannot be bought. Own assets that survive collapse. History shows that preparation is not about fear, it's about empowerment. As we look ahead, remember, when money dies, value does not vanish, it transforms. Your knowledge, your skills, your relationships, and your tangible resources are your true wealth. If this video opened your eyes to these timeless lessons, subscribe and hit the bell to continue exploring how humans thrive when the world changes around them. Prepare, adapt, and act. Because survival and prosperity are always built on what is real.